Reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. Thanks, Chad. Thank you to you, to both the Marks, to Jess and to Garth. In fact, everybody in the Supercars media family and everybody in the paddock and those folks at home that have sent some amazing messages of support. Very touching and humbling. So I thank you very much. But enough of that, because what we just saw was a pretty cool feature of the weekend. We've been seeing it in the 2021 Repco Supercars Championship, these practice starts. So how do you start a supercar? I don't mean push the button and fire it up. I mean get it away from the line, because stop and think about it. Making time in the workshop costs an enormous amount of time and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. Making time on the racetrack, well, that's a big mission when you've got even and competitive drivers and cars. So this is an area where you can make up a lot of time. So we'll go back to last weekend. Will Davison, Shell V-Power Racing Team Mustang. Let's have a look at Wilbur's start. Now, the first thing to understand is that you want to make sure that the front wheels are behind the painted line on the road. And at the point where the lights change, those wheels must be stationary. The driver is now going through a start sequence, which involves putting on the line locker and locking the brakes on the car, getting the car into first gear, finding the right amount of revs and then roaring away at the light change. This is Nick Percat, Brad Jones Racing entry, so R&J Batteries entry. You'll have a look at this start. You can see very clearly that he's well behind the line. That didn't look like a bad start. A little bit of licorice, Dunlop licorice was left on the road in the process. So let's pull it apart in much greater detail, because what's going on here is the drivers are trying to convert energy and torque. Remember, there's more than 600 horsepower available at your right foot. And what you want to be able to do is just sneak the car off the line as though you're driving in the wet with just the right amount of acceleration and just a tiny bit of wheel spin, but at the same time not dropping the clutch and bursting into heaps of wheel spin or bogging the car down and chugga-lugga-lugga-lugga off the start line. So Anton De Pasquale, Will's teammate, let's have a look at the rear wheels on this car and focus on it. This is a pretty decent example. The walkaway was nice, but then the second part of the stop, it burst into just a little bit more wheel spin. Here it is again in replay. Converts the energy nicely. It gets off the line pretty effectively. Then he gets a bit excited and gives it some welly, and there's a big licorice strap behind. So what goes on inside the car is pretty interesting. So jump on board again with Nick Percat's car and you can see the mark on the steering wheel that says line lock. When you push that button, it means that the brake system's been energised. So the driver puts his foot on the brake, pushes the button, and the system holds the pressure. Now the car can't move. That's a very important part of the story. Then you've obviously got the car in first gear. Hopefully one or two drivers have messed it up over the years. Then you want to get that throttle percentage right of somewhere between about 40 and 50%, which seems to be about the popular number these days. And different teams have got different start sequences, and then find exactly that bite point on the clutch and then release and away you go. So let's have a look at the next part of this story. When it all comes together, this is what it should look like. We're looking over the left shoulder of David Reynolds in the Penrite entry here. The revs are up, the car's not moving. He is daring not to blink, staring at those lights, looking for the change, and then being able to perfectly convert to be able to get the job done. So what's a measure of a decent start? Well, the first thing you do is look around when you get to in this case, the second corner at Townsville and go, well, where am I? Did I get swamped, or did I hold my own ground, or did I pass a few cats along the way? Hopefully the latter. But when you're back in the garage or you're back looking at the data in the transporter, they measure this from 0 to 100 kilometres an hour. Now, a ripping start is in that mid 3-second range. A pretty good start is up around the 4s. If it's south of that and you're slower, you're really battling. But you know the part that I love the most? When there are 24 supercars out there and they are all singing ready for the start, it's more than 15,000 horsepower. And that's a cool song. We'll look forward to it this afternoon.